The following is a sponsored program paid for by Robin Gwaltney Group-RE Results. Welcome to Rochester Real Estate, featuring Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE Results and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning, everyone. Andy Brownell on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE Results on a Saturday morning right before Mother's Day. Another morning and a happy Mother's Day early, Robin.
Thanks.
It's going to be another of those weird weekends where we're kind of in this surreal world that we live in, and another usual celebration of family get-togethers that probably won't take place.
I think I've actually convinced my kids to come for Mother's Day. I said we could sit outside. They said it's going to be freezing. And I said, better than not seeing you guys.
Yeah, you got room spread out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how we're all going to have to deal with this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness what they should do is just move Mother's Day to next weekend, because I think the weather forecast for the next weekend is going to be pretty darn nice.
I know. I hear it's cold outside. I haven't actually ventured out there, but looking out, it looks beautiful. The sun's shining. Yeah,
just a little on the chilly side for this time of the year, that's for sure. And, we're actually here to talk about real estate, not the weather, so.
I guess.
You supplied me with some materials that showed, at least for the Rochester and Southeastern market, the dip in activity was nowhere near as severe as what I would have thought it would have been.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, when you look back to the week that the stay-at-home began, our showings were down by about, on the average, 100 over the same week last year. The following week, it dropped even further, like 150 showings down. Stayed that way for a couple weeks, but look at last week. What are we? 30-some showings down from the same week last year?
Yeah.
So, good sign. I also think it's a sign that people are over it. They're ready to move around. Even though we're still on shelter in, they do realize that real estate is essential, and it's perfectly acceptable to be out looking at houses. And I think they finally are feeling like, okay, I'm ready to do this.
I agree with you, and I think it is a general sense that we've kind of adapted now to doing things in a different way, and it's no longer quite as scary as it was at the beginning of all this.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
We've all got used to washing our hands way more often than we used to. Not shaking hands, keeping distance from the other person.
Yeah, and I always bring extra masks, and people have them. So it's like in the beginning they would be like, "Oh, okay, do you need me to wear that?" And I'm like, "It's up to you. I mean, I'm going to wear mine." And now I show up to meet somebody, and they all come with masks, and nobody thinks anything of the fact that I'm wearing a mask. So it's awesome.
Are you hearing from more of the people who are going to be joining up with Mayo as residences this summer, or is that group in communication more now?
Oh yeah, we're still working with several residents, and actually the exciting thing to me is people that just live in Rochester and decided it's time to move up and take advantage of the great interest rate. They're starting to move around, so that's a really positive sign.
Yeah, and we have been doing this now for 6 weeks, I think? 5-6 weeks?
It's been 6 weeks for sure.
And as the governor has repeatedly said, we as Minnesotans have done a better job than almost anybody else in the entire country of tamping down this activity. And I imagine that there's a payoff to that, too, that at some point we get to perhaps resume a little bit more normalcy. I don't know when we'll get back to real normalcy, but a new normalcy that allows more and more activity to occur.
Well, and I think on the other side of that, our dips were never as bad as they were other places in the country.
That's true. That's true.
So we've been very fortunate.
When I looked at that chart that you sent over as far as the listing or activity or the showing activity, and the only thing missing from it was that huge surge that you used to see in April.
Right.
All the residents came in at one time. But well, those folks are still out there. They still have to get homes at some point here.
Yeah, they're still buying homes. I know our team last week this past week, I think, sold 7 or 8 homes, and I sold 3 in one day. So it was like, it felt like a spring market for just that one day. It was awesome.
Are you still seeing the multiple offers on the?
We are. Yes, we are still seeing multiple offers. If homes are in the right price range and they're priced right, people are still out there competing for them.
And people, I suppose we have, for those who are lucky enough not to have, seen their income curtailed or their jobs ended as a result of this, and thankfully there are quite a few in this community that is the case, that federal stimulus money put a little bit of a little bit more weight in their wallet.
Right. Well, and I think even the folks at Mayo that had to take pay cuts or had to take, a certain amount of furlough time, they all know, I think they all feel really confident that it's not a question of if we're going back to work or if our salary is going back to normal. It's just when. Absolutely.
And the indications I get, which are anecdotal, because I have no way to see the overall picture, but I just get to hear from people I know who work there who things are coming back a little bit quicker than they even anticipated.
That's what I've heard as well.
Yeah, the patients, there's a demand to be seen by physicians and others, and folks are very interested in making appointments.
Well, think about it. They're one of the best medical centers in the entire world. So, of course, people are chomping at the bit to get back there.
Yeah. Prior to this, if you tried to get an appointment, it took you forever to try to get an appointment if you weren't already a Mayo Clinic patient. Yeah. So. Yeah. It'll be back to busy and people feeling really confident in a matter of the next few months. I feel really sure of that. So, that will mean get your home ready. What does that mean for the person who wants to take advantage of what you expect to be a resurgent market? Well, I'm not going to lie to you. People's homes are ready. They are as ready as they've ever been, because people have been spending a lot of time cleaning and sorting and getting rid of things and painting, and drive around and see people. They're all out making their yards look perfect. So, that means they're just done on the inside, and now they got to move to the outside. So, I feel like when people do call me, I'm going to be able to go over there and say, yep, it's ready to go. Let's order the pictures. Let's put it on market. Let's get the photos and let's get this thing sold. Well, you sent along the information on I guess it would have been for the month of April that you get in May. Right. The data from the local marketplace. Brian actually puts this together. It's the Rochester Market Report. So he's so good with all the stats, and he just pulls everything together so that we have just an overall review of what the month of April looked like. Okay. And it's really nice because we send this out to all of our clients or anybody else who's interested in looking at it. And it's a great snapshot of the market. And, of course, if you don't have to be somebody who's already done business with the Gwaltney Group, anybody can request this information, correct? Absolutely. We're here to provide all the knowledge that we have about the market with anybody who's interested in hearing it. And you'll just get it in your inbox. That's right. Just a nice email. So let's look at what the stats say. It says currently there are 351 sales pending in the market overall. Okay, so typically a house is pending. That just means it's gone under contract, but it hasn't closed yet. Okay, so typically that time frame is between 30 and 45 days. So in the last 30 to 45 days, there have been 351 sales. Okay. All right. That's stronger than I would have anticipated as well. Yeah, and leaving only 305 listings left to sell. So you might say, what exactly does that mean? The pending ratio indicates the supply and demand of the market.
So that high ratio means that the listings are in demand and quickly going to contract. So we all know that. And I think that, again, we've talked about how some people have just held off thinking that it's not going to be a good time. But truth be told, it's a great time.
So the numbers still show a healthy market.
The numbers still show a very healthy market. Again, those numbers between 200 and 300, that's the largest number of contracts pending, which would make sense because, again, we had all those incoming residents, and that's typically the price point that they're in.
That's usually the price point in this market anyway, isn't it? Just
well, yeah,
it's hot spot.
It's kind of the affordable price range. You know, when we talk about affordable, some people say, well, what does that even mean? Because what you can afford and what I can afford are two different things. Sure. And so when we talk about affordable, we're basically talking about if you can buy it with 30% of your monthly income, if you can afford the payments or afford the rent with 30% of your monthly income, that's considered affordable. So basically, the majority of the workers, the residents of Rochester, are saying that we can easily, comfortably afford that price point between 200 and 300.
Especially with the interest rates where they're at right now. Exactly. So before we take the break, I had one more question for you regarding these numbers. And we have a lot more to talk about as far as the market is concerned. With that, the pending ratio of, so is it, you want to be right around 50%, correct? Is that? Well,
the higher it is, the more it indicates a shortage of supply. Okay. So if you're a seller, yes. If you're a buyer, you would like it to be the other way. So yeah, it's definitely still very much a seller's market.
Okay. So the closer to 50 is more of the balanced, healthy market.
Absolutely.
Correct? Got it.
Yeah, and we're sitting right at like 53.5% right now.
Right. Okay. We'll be back with more. Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results on this Saturday morning on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Welcome back to Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning and welcome back. Andy Brownell along with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results, our regular Saturday morning real estate discussion on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We've been kind of going through the market report from the data gathered during the month of April. And any other numbers that kind of stand out for you, Robin, that are noteworthy?
Well, if you look down at that second little paragraph and you see the contracts pending, it's interesting. Out of the 351 sales that are pending, it looks like about 150 of them are at the 200 price point.
Right at it, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty much what we would expect. It's just that numbers are not as high. The peaks would be the same. The price point would be the same. It's just not as many sales as this time last year.
Sure. This would be a different, not your hot spring, but maybe a
really, really good winter.
Okay.
That's what I always say. I say, when people say, how's the market? I say, it's a really strong winter market.
Okay.
So.
And we're still,
spring market is still ahead.
It's got to happen at some point. Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's pent up demand out there. So
all right, so let's go down to the bottom of the page.
Okay.
It says a total of 834 contracts have closed in the last 6 months, with a median sold price of $244,700. So breaking it down, we can see that the 200 to 300 price range contains the highest number of sold listings. Okay, now I'm starting to sound like a broken record. But alternatively, a total of 130 listings failed to sell in that same period of time. So I will tell you what has probably happened. Of those 130 listings, maybe 100 of them, the sellers decided, you know what, I'm not comfortable having people coming in the house. I'm going to take the house off the market, wait, and put it back on later.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay. Like I've said many times, you have to do what's comfortable for you. And if you're comfortable now giving me a call and going out and looking at houses, perfect. If you still feel like, hey, Robin, would you go over and just do a little walkthrough on FaceTime with me? Perfect. You have to do what's comfortable for you. That's what's most important.
Yeah, part of that, I think, well, number one, the whole newness of the stay-at-home, when this all started, I think that rattled people pretty good.
Yeah.
And also the weather was not really nice either. And as the weather has improved and more people are just getting out and about and doing normal things like bike riding, walking.
Golfing. I think I think that has really helped. I know that's really helped my son. I told you he was just a stickler about this whole, I can't come to your house, Mom, because if I have it and I don't know and I give it to you, I'd feel horrible. And I was like, oh my goodness. But now he can go golfing. So now, and I said, hey, do you think there's any chance you can come for Mother's Day? And he's like, yeah, I mean, maybe that could work. I'm like, yes. You don't have to hug me. You don't even have to sit within 6 feet of me, but I want my kids.
So is that translated to folks are a little bit more willing to open up their homes? Have you followed?
I think so. I think people are just like you said, as you see people, you drive past Target or Costco or Sam's and the parking lots are full. You go outside and you see the bike trails and you see that people are out riding and walking and they're golfing now. So I think it's starting to feel like, okay, life is getting back to the way it used to be to some degree.
Right. And you have numerous times during this program outlined the measures or steps that you've taken to make it as safe as possible.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got a mask. You're washing your hands constantly. You're taking off the shoes before you go in the home. I'm
not letting anybody touch anything. You know, I mean, the only person that's touching a light switch or a door handle or a cabinet door or anything that needs to be open to look in is me. And I'm doing it with gloves on that get thrown away or with a Lysol wipe that gets thrown away. You know, so we're being super careful.
Super careful, yeah. I know one of the other things we always talk about when we track these statistics is what do you call it? Days on market. Is that right? How long a home is listed before it sells?
Yes.
Are we seeing any trend there, or is it still super fast like it has been?
I think it's probably slowed down a little bit, but again, it's not bad. I'm trying to look on here what the average days on market is. Are you seeing it? Because
I imagine it depends on the home that's for sale, the price range.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what we go by. But here, let's look. Oh, here, I'm on the right page now. Average days on market. Yeah, no, I mean, they're still 30, 23, 34, 21. Still not bad at all.
I find that funny when you say not bad at all, that in the past that would have been, oh my gosh, that's incredibly fast.
Isn't that something? But we got so used to 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. You know what I'm saying? So market averages... market median here, 36 days on the market. Okay. So again, we have 27 days for the ones that closed in the last 6 months. They were on the market for the average of 27 days. The ones that are still active have been on the market for an average of 36 days. So it's taken a few more days, but not incredibly long time.
And I suppose you have a few outliers out there that always take longer to sell just because there's a limited number of people who are in the market for, you know, I'm thinking of more expensive homes.
Exactly. And, you know, like we've said over and over, the more expensive homes in town are either usually incoming physicians. Well, we all know that's been pushed out, right? There's been a hiring freeze for a lot of the higher administrative jobs at Mayo. Also, people that currently live in town, maybe they finished their fellowship and they've now been invited on staff. It might be the time that they would typically do an upgrade. And a lot of those people are just saying, yeah, we can wait. We can wait until all this COVID stuff is behind us.
Yeah, and it will be behind us at some day or another. Probably thanks to the work that they're doing over there.
Exactly. Isn't that the truth?
And the other number we tend to look at is the median price, right?
Yeah.
And that remains elevated, correct?
It is.
I mean, yeah. I know it fluctuates depending on which month you're in because it's a cyclical business due to the time of the year. But it looks like, from what I can see, it's done its usual bit of going up in April.
Yeah, and that I'm so happy you brought that up because I have received a lot of phone calls. I've seen a lot of conversations on Facebook where people say, yeah, get ready when these prices drop. Get ready to buy a house. And it's like, oh, my goodness, these prices are not going to drop. There's not going to be any fall in prices. That's not what's going to happen. If you look at the shortage of inventory and the incredibly low interest rates, that does not equal a price drop. Prices are going to remain very strong and continue to increase. So our market is going to stay very solid.
All right, I'm with Robin Gwaltney. Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results. We'll be back in just a few seconds on Newstalk 1340, KROC AM at 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is Newstalk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Welcome back to Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Robin Gwaltney is with us. Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results. I'm Andy Brownell, News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We've been reviewing the April statistics from the Rochester real estate market, put together, assembled in a nice package, and delivered to us by the Gwaltney Group. And, of course, we mentioned you can get this delivered to your email inbox free of charge just by getting a hold of Robin or anybody else from the Gwaltney Group. Lots of interesting data in here to peruse.
It's just kind of easy to take a look at it. Like I say, it's an overall snapshot of what last month's market looked like in all price ranges, and that shows you, days on market, median sale price, how many we've got, how many have gone under contract, and it does help people understand just where we are in the market. I get a lot of phone calls from this particular radio show saying that I really help people understand the real estate market, and that makes me feel really good because that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Right when we finished up the last segment before we took the break, we were talking about the median sales price and how you were arguing against some folks out there who contend that there might be some drop in prices. And the one column that you have in this report that stands out really glaringly is the list sales ratio. And in every single price category, it shows that it's at or just slightly under 100%.
Right.
Is that, maybe explain what that is, that list sales ratio.
Yeah, so typically if your house is being listed at 300%, you don't have to expect to sell it much less than somewhere between 97% and 100%. And typically we'll see anywhere between 98 or 99 as the kind of percentage of what your list price was to what your sold price actually was. And recently, and when I say recently, I mean in the last year or two, we've been kind of hovering right around 100% and even 101, 102%. Sometimes because of the multiple offers and people bidding over, and sometimes because they're adding a little bit of seller-paid closing costs on top. But the bottom line is, if your house is priced properly, you should expect to get, I don't care what price point you're at, if it's priced right, you should expect to get somewhere between 97% and 100% of your asking price. And that's gospel truth.
And that's all the matter. I've said before, that's where you have your Robin Gwaltneys of the world come in and have that experience and knowledge to price the home correctly.
It is so important, and it's such a hard subject because sometimes you're dealing with sellers that are very emotionally attached to their house, and they say, but I want to get this. And it's a hard conversation because you can want what you want, but this is what your house is worth. And I think it's really important that we can, as professional realtors, we can present the facts and show the data and show what other houses like this house have sold for. Basically, when we do a market analysis with someone, whether it's virtually or face-to-face in their home or at the office, we should be prepared to say, in your neighborhood, houses have sold on the average of 112% of the tax value of the property.
Sure.
Or whatever it is. But we should be able to convince them and show them why this is the right price for their house. Because the number one most important thing, in my opinion, in real estate is when you get ready to put your house on the market is to make sure you have it priced properly.
And I know we're going to run out of time rapidly here. The what you call the absorption rate, which is what the amount of inventory of everything were to be halted today, how long the market would have before it runs out of homes. Is that a correct way to describe that?
Yeah. So it's like if nothing else came on the market, when would we be out of houses to sell? And as you can go down there, it's like 1.4 months.
Yeah.
Not quite a month, 1.1 month, 3 months. So if you're in the 500 to 600 price range, we've got 6.4 months worth of inventory. But other than that, I guess when you get up to $1 million, we've got a whole year's worth of inventory. But if you're, in the market for anything below 500,000, there's not a lot of inventory.
Yeah. So in other words, still a very, very tight market. Very much
good, solid real estate market.
Well, excellent, Robin. Thanks for spending the time explaining the numbers to us. And if you're ready to get out there and put your home on the market, or you're ready to buy, it is springtime. How do you get a hold of Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results?
Well, I'm always on my cell phone. It's always in my hand. So call it any time. It's 507-259-4926.
Very good, Robin. You have a wonderful Mother's Day.
Thank you very much.
And we'll talk to you next week. I'm Andy Brownell with News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.